different. Finally, we have young kids, because finally, for example, in Italy, we have many beach volleyball schools that are running from September to May, so in winter, like a real school, before the summer starts. So that means that kids, that teenagers, can really improve their beach volleyball skills since they're really young. So finally, you don't have to take people from the indoor. I think are two separate sports, are two different sports. There are few similarities, but I think the difference are much bigger. For example, the more we see volleyball, the more we see that is specialization there, you know. The setter is just setting. Middle blocker and opposite, they never receive. The libero cannot hit. Instead, in beach volleyball, you have to be able basically to do everything. Maybe we have only a specialization with block defense, but we can see a really good team like Smoillovs or Herrera Gavira. They go block 1-1, so they are also blocker and defensive player. So definitely I would say that there is not an age where you can shift from volleyball to beach volleyball. I think the ideal thing is that you start to different paths, one with volleyball, one with beach volleyball, of course. Then you can jump from one to the other, but like you can switch from beach volleyball to tennis or to rugby. It's just, you know, I think personally, I think for kids, it's very good to change sports. I don't think it's good to start with one sport when you are 7 or 8 and then you do all your life. They made studies in the US about this, and kids that were starting to compete too early, they were all abandoning the sport at the age of 15, 16, because there was too much pressure on them when they were not ready probably mentally to stand competition. So I'm kind of against every competition. I think kids should have fun, should learn a sport, should switch sport, and then to decide what they want to do. But just to finish this topic, two different sports. I know exactly because I was the first one in Italy, in Europe, to run a beach volleyball school. So my idea 25 years ago was to create a beach volleyball school. So kids, children could really learn the sport, the way to play beach volleyball before you start volleyball. And now only in Rome, we have maybe 200 indoor court. In Italy, we have thousands of indoor court. So I'm very glad that we arrived there now.
Okay, thank you for that. If you had a good player, like 17, 18-year-old, and he would tell you, Marco, I like both. I want to do indoor first league in Italy in the winter and to do some tournaments in the beach in the summer. What would you say to this guy?
For sure, it's possible to do when you are that age. It's I think the biggest difference between beach volleyball and indoor volleyball is the mentality. Beach volleyball player, it's also, at least he used to be more a manager of himself. You have to be an entrepreneur. You have to risk. You have to decide to travel by yourself. You have to find your own sponsor. You have to be ready to look for a partner, to look for a coach. Indoor is more, established. You are in a track. You have a club. You have the coach. You have the manager. You have the court where you play, where you train. It's much more, you have a basic, a clear base. Beach volleyball, we are more, crazy guy. More, in my opinion, we are more open-minded. People that play beach volleyball are more ready to travel, to be ready for. Now it's changing a little bit because some federation now they really make program where the players were treated almost like indoor player, like with a salary, with all the comfort, let's say, that the indoor volleyball player has. But still, these things of traveling much more, don't have a club behind you, it really makes a big difference. But as you said, if a guy at 17 wants to play indoor and during the summer go to play some beach volleyball, it's fine. Then for sure, if you want to become a top player, you have to decide, especially if you want to become a top beach player, because winter is made to improve. You can make a longer training camp, you can improve your technique. And so if you play indoor volleyball, you're not going to improve beach volleyball technique.
Thank you. This is our mentality in our program. We have an academy that players start to play beach from age 13 or 14. And we try to go full beach all the way. But of course, we have exceptions. Sometimes we have players that want to try both, and we try to find the middle to not to offend anybody, but we agree if you want to be professional.
Another big difference that is normally good indoor players, they have a salary guarantee. So they are more, again, in the comfort zone, you know. They have the salary regardless if they get injury or if they don't play, if they're in the bench, if they don't win a game, they still have a salary. Beach volleyball is so much about compete, succeed, win, get bonuses, get bonus from sponsor. So beach volleyball is more insecure. But in my opinion, this is a good it's a good approach to life. We don't want to have anything for granted. We want to deserve things. We want to fight for things. We like challenges. And I can tell you, because when I was 20, there was no beach volleyball. I made this trip to California. I figured out this unbelievable sport. I came back and we started to play beach volleyball in Italy. I was a real pioneer, you know, and every summer I was going back to California, buying my ticket, renting my car, maybe sleeping on the beach sometimes or with friends. So it's a different lifestyle. Now it's a very, I mean, not big sport, but it's much more there is structure. But to start, you cannot say, I want this, and then I will play beach volleyball. No, you have to start with some challenge.
Amen for that. We agree. Okay. For the next question is the main subject, really. This is a subject we are talking about a lot between us, the coaches in Israel. And it's the whole approach of block training or analytic training, maybe like in Russia 20 years ago, or I don't know, or in Japan, or the modern approach, more American, more play dirty, more random training, random exercises, more similar for the game. And what is the right volume between them, of the difference between them, and the difference between senior and junior in that?
Yeah, this is a crucial topic. First of all, I would make a big difference between a professional player and amateur, and between, let's say, mature player and kids or junior, like you would say. For sure, amateur and junior, they have to do lots of analytic work. Just to give you an example, when I was running my school and I was having maybe 10, also adults, but completely beginners, they were never playing. They had to learn really the alphabet of beach volleyball. I make this example many times to make this kind of player, the beginners or kids, because there are some coaches that do like this. They say, now we play. It would be the same if a kid that is learning how to write and is still writing the A, the B, the C, all of a sudden the teacher goes to him and says, okay, now write a poem or poetry or an essay. How can he write an essay? You know, he needs to learn the letters, then the sentences, then the structure, the grammar. So this is exactly the same beach volleyball. So when we start to coach beginners or junior, we have to be very cautious, and for many, many months, also because beach volleyball is a very complex sport. It's not complicated because you have to make 3 touches, pass, set, and hit. So it's not complicated, but it's complex. I would say, in my opinion, it's the most difficult ball sport that exists, because it's played on a very difficult surface. It's played with a very difficult meteorological condition like wind, sun, rain, whatever. You cannot catch the ball like in many other sports. You have to pass the ball with your partner in a perfect position and perfect timing. So it's really complex. Once I said this, we can discuss about professional play. Of course, the professional player must play a game situation, must play a global, not only analytic, must play game. I would start with the first difference in the period of the year. The farther you are to competition, let's say beach volleyball, normally we have a lot of competition from April to September more. Maybe we have also one tournament in March or two in November, but most of the tournaments are from April to September. So I would say far from competition, let's say December, January, February, we can really try to make analytic work also in order to improve our technique. And you know, for example, now I'm coaching a player like Carambula that it's maybe one of the best, if not the best, ball control player in the world. He still can improve in his movement, in his footwork, in defense, how he touched the ball. And I'm talking about the best player of the world. So this is a huge difference between, for example, beach volleyball and indoor volleyball. From what I know, top level indoor team, they never really make too many repetitions. They go in the gym, they start to warm up, they pepper, then 6 against 6, maybe with some rules, with some drills. But in beach volleyball, we start a lot with pass, with set, with different kind of attack, with shots, with hit, also with professional player. Then, of course, the closer we go to competition, the more, let's say, 3/5 analytic work far from the competition. When we're getting closer to the competition, we switch. It's maybe 3/5 or 4/5. That 4/5 means 80%, but not that you play, that you make a lots of game situation drills with some goal. Let's say you want to improve the jump serve, so you give special bonus if you score the point with the jump serve, or you want to improve the cover, so you give special point, or you put a second ball that is recreate the situation of a cover. So of course there are hundreds of different drills that are more in the direction to recreate a game situation with some particular attention in one part of the game. Then during the competition, really maybe June, July, August, sorry, I would say maybe only 20, 30 minutes during the training to touch the ball, to do some, maybe you watch the video of the game that you played in the previous tournament, there was something that didn't work very well, and maybe you can focus a little bit more, I don't know, passing on the right. You look, this team was really creating problem with the conflict area. So then maybe you work a lot with the coach serving strong from a box in the conflict area, and we discuss about how to move when a player is serving in the middle, or how to, you know, with the wind, stuff like that. But, and I want to say one more thing, like it's a big mistake, make the kids or the amateur play or play too much game situation. The opposite mistake is what they do in Japan. And I can tell you, because I was working 2 years in Japan. In Japan, even professional players that are playing internationally, many times they train separated, not even with their partner. So one player with one coach, and they just do repetition. So 1 hour only pass, 1 hour only set, 1 hour only hit, without any goal. And I do the opposite example. It's like you want to write a poem and you keep drawing a beautiful A. So at the end, your A will be beautiful, but there is not a meaning in this. Create the structure of the game. After you put the pass, the set, you have to give a structure. You have to create a system to make it extreme, like Carambula Rossi, the way we played. It was a system created just for them. Because two short players with very good ball control, I decided to create this very weird and crazy, a little bit crazy system. In Japan, they have no idea of this. They keep repeating the fundamental without putting things together. And this is one of the, because they come from Oriental tradition of repetition, movement. It's very different culture. And it is the reason, in my opinion, why in the game sport, they are so low in the ranking, in all of them. I don't think it's only a problem of the body that, okay, most of the Japanese guys are short, but there are lots of sports where you don't need to be really tall to succeed. But in all the sport with the ball, where you need a structure, you need a system, you need a communication system, because the more people are on the court, the more it's important communication. And in Japan, communication doesn't exist. There is a hierarchy, that is the head, the top, and the other one, and take a ball. And when I was talking with them, I was asking feedback, zero feedback. From players, from federation, they were just listening. At the beginning, you think, oh, it's good that they really listen, you know. But then at the end, you understand that there is no confrontation, no feedback, no. For me, when I was working in Russia, you know, Russian completely different. Marco, no, niet. It was very important for me. This is niet. Good, I know, and I move forward. I move on. I try other possibility, other opportunity. Okay, I just wanted to bring the opposite aspect. Like you said, the American, but they are changing a little bit now. They were the one that until 10 years ago, they were just playing. You know, training for them was, let's go down the beach and play. I'm strong, I'm tough, I keep the ball high and I eat strong, you know. Very, very American mentality. I'm the best, just do it. Still, they have this philosophy, and it's a very good philosophy to succeed. But they realize that the European system with more structure, more analytic work, more drills, it was better. So they are changing.
So actually, the best thing is to find the good middle, the good
Absolutely.
middle. Not too much, not too much.
And understand who do you have in front. If you have Carambula Rossi, because, you know, it's funny because people during my 25 years of coaching, they've accused me of everything. Like, no, your game is too complicated. No, your game is too simple. No, it's too... Just because I was seeing who I had in front, and I was to create a system for the team that I had in front. If I'm coaching the kids, or maybe also when I was coaching Italian national team women back in the days, my players were short, they were not very good 10-setter. So the core was 9x9. So we were playing a very simple system, like up and down set, nothing more than that. And we won 3 European championships with a very simple system. So then I start to work with Doppler Berger, 2 meters, jump high, very good handset. I create different system, you know. So the important thing of the coach is realize who you are coaching. If you are kids, teenager, the level, how many hours you have, all these kind of practical things, and decide what is the best things to do with the people you have with you.
Thank you. You mentioned Carambula and Rossi. I don't know if everybody who's watching now, who's listening, know about this team. This is one of the most exciting beach volleyball teams to watch ever in the high levels. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember many teams to do so many complicated or out of the ordinary.
Beginning Cantor Losiak, they were doing something similar.
Right.
But we introduced, now Cantor Losiak have lots of injuries, so now they're going back more to a simple game. And we introduced all this setting on 2, this weird kind of passing, different system of passing. Don't pass anymore straight to the net, but open with the first touch the ball in order to hit on 2, to shoot to the antenna, to fake, to put the second ball with the handset over. Yeah, I think it is exciting. And for me also was a new experience to do this kind of things, because we are doing this really an extreme level.
Yeah, I wanted to ask how many of those special attacks, we call them, or not up and down balls, how many of them is synchronized or planned, and how many of these are improvised? Because many times we see them do amazing things, and I see and I know that I can see they didn't talk between themselves. They just felt it or something.
No, we have a system that before the pass, we tell the partner what we want to do. Then in case the pass doesn't come exactly the way we wanted, then we can call switch, we can call no, we can call another kind of set. But I think, especially the last few months, we were really training lots of new tricks. And it's a shame that we could not play this year because we were ready, because we, it looks like it's improvisation, but behind there is lots of work. Also the ball on two, now we realize how the blocker and defensive player were playing against us. So now we were adding some new tricks, and I'm sure it was going to be exciting, but okay, we have to wait.
Okay, we wait a few months to see it. No problem. Anybody have a question about what we just talked? You can unmute and ask. If not, the third question I asked you in our messages was, how has your coaching changed over the years?
Okay, I think that there are some aspects that stay the same, and I think this aspect must not change forever. First of all, my passion for the sport. I really think that a coach, it's a big priority that you coach by example. So if you want your player bring motivation, bring dedication, bring discipline to the sport, you have to bring the same. So you cannot arrive, like, oh, I'm bored, I wish I would be somewhere else. You have to arrive, be the first, bring your energy, bring your passion. And these things is the key. It's the first things to really ask the player what you want from them. So it's crucial that you bring this passion, this motivation, this energy, and this I never change. And I don't think I'm gonna change until I will work. If I will see that I will go short with energy, with motivation, I think I will quit. But I don't know, I still enjoy a lot to coach. Of course, this is not enough to be a good coach. To be a good coach, you need competence. Competence means study the sport. If you have been a player, it helps. So I had the help that I was a player before being a coach. But you have to study, you have to analyze the game, you have to watch the other team playing, you have to watch the video. From this point of view, I really have discussion with the people that says, experience is so important, For example, you listen many times to people, or also coaches that say, oh, that player is very good because he has experience. Or that coach is very good because he has experience. But if this is true, the oldest players should always be the best. And the oldest coaches should always be the best. This is not true. For me, experience is important, but when you make your experience, you have to be guided by hypothesis. Okay, so you have to think, okay, I have this player, I want to try this. We have this number of tournaments, I want to try this. And of course, you make experience. Because for sure, 25 years ago, I think during these 25 years, I changed a little bit my style and I improved. But it's not enough experience. The experience, it's like blind if you don't put hypothesis, if you don't analyze the game, if you don't look always at the drill, at the practice that you prepare with some goal. So maybe what I can tell you, what I change the most, it's, and this is always included in the word flexibility, that when I was starting as a coach, I thought basically there was one way of coaching. So I was more maybe strict, more severe. And then you realize that, I think this is an interesting point. Like we ask the player to go out of their comfort zone, you know, as a coach, what we ask to the player, try this new thing, try this new jump serve, try this new solution in attack, try to hand set. So they don't feel comfortable at the beginning because there's something new that we ask them to do it. And you can see exactly the player with more confidence that they can deal better with their staying in the discomfort zone. But also in this part, like I was telling you before, I'm trying to teach by example. So sometimes I try to put myself out of my comfort zone, because my comfort zone is we have to do this, I'm the coach, I decide. And lately, in the last few years, and especially in the last 2 years with Carambola Rossi, Carambola has a different style to train, more wild. He's a guy that he learned to play beach volleyball in Miami by himself. So it's a wild cat, you know. But coaching Carambola, I realized that sometimes I have to put myself in a discomfort zone, also to realize how you feel, how my players feel when I ask them to do something unusual for them. I don't know if I express myself correctly, clearly, but this is something that I think I changed in the last few years, and this is something maybe that you need a few years of working, you know, and then you can go in these details. But and then of course you change your style a little bit because you know more drills, you have new ideas, experience from this point of view help you, you know, because you had many teams and you realize that. But then again, every player is different. You have to find the key for every player. So it's not that I really don't like coaches that, for example, they say, oh, the jump serve you have to do like this. Years ago, there was an Italian coach that want to teach all the Italian players the jump serve like Jonas Reckerman. I don't know if you remember, Jonas Reckerman was a little bit a robot. He was putting the ball here, making two step, you know, but he was German. There was a good movement, a good system, a good structure for a German player. And Italian players, many of them, they were more crazy, more creative. You know, these players, they freak out. They didn't want to really to play that kind of jump serve. So I think one more time, flexibility is a crucial quality for a good coach.
Interesting. I'll just say in Hebrew for the young ones, the one sentence about what you just said. I will translate one sentence. חבר'ה צעירים, אם יש מישהו שלא תפס את זה, אנחנו מדברים על מה השתנה במהלך השנים בצורת האימון שלו. זה אומר שמעבר לניסיון שעוזר לך כמובן עם השנים וזה, אז באמת אחד הדברים שהוא למד, ובעיקר בשנתיים האחרונות, מקרמבולה, זה כתוצאה מעבודה עם קרמבולה אולי גם, זה להכניס את עצמו, להוציא את עצמו מאזור נוחות. בעצם מה שאנחנו מבקשים מכם לעשות כל הזמן, לעשות את זה בעצמנו לפעמים, ולשמש דוגמה, וככה להעביר את המסר. I think, Marco, this is a very interesting point. I think it's also very important for everybody, everywhere, in every profession in the world, you know, not just as a coach, to put yourself outside of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to get dragged into the place of, okay, I know what I know, everything is okay, because you can still progress like this, but slower.
Yeah, exactly. One of the mistake of the coach, you know, maybe something that is easy for them, maybe as a player, or they okay, come on, do this, it's easy. But then, I don't know, Velasco was making this example that I like a lot, you know. My generation, be on a computer is not that easy, you know. You have something that you don't know how to do it, and you call your son that is 20 or 25, and he says, hey, Dad, it's easy. Come on, do this. But, you know, it's not that easy if you are not, you know, educated in that.
Yeah.
So sometimes players, as for example, for girls, handset sometimes it's not easy. But if you go, come on, it's easy. It's the worst mistake you can do with a girl says, come on, do it because it's easy. Start to explain, start to decide if you want to do that, if you want to put your time, your energy, explain the movement, explain the philosophy, explain the help that you will get with a handset. And then, you know, you proceed. But these things, come on, it's easy. It's like Russian coaches a lot, for example, and getting angry and punishing people. This is another thing that, you know, I try to give some ideas just because we have this like an hour. So it's not that I'm going to explain the past, the set, it would be boring. One thing that I always thought is that the coach, and this is something that the Russian coach do a lot still now, the coach should never punish players, especially if they're kids or teenagers, with doing something. Like you did bad, now you do 10 rounds of the core or 10 push-up, because we want to teach, we want to communicate the love for the physical effort, for the action. But if you bring a punishment that is, okay, now you have to sprint 10 times, then it's the message, it's contradictory, because we want that our player, our kids, our students, they love what we do together. You go to the court, you want to bring this passion, this energy, and all of a sudden you punish with doing something that we should love to do. So this was a system that I was using a lot when I was coaching kids and teenagers. For me, the best punish was do not do. So sit down for 1 minute. Now you're out of the group. You misbehave, you're not paying attention. And this was really working because one more time, there was connected with the philosophy that we are here to have fun. We are here with joy. We are here with passion. And the message has to be, how you say in English?
Parallel or synchronous.
Yeah, exactly. Coherente. It has to connect.
Coherent. Yeah. I think we in our practices use penalties. I don't know. I don't like to call it punishment. Maybe punishment is a little harsh, but like penalties. And we find it sometimes useful. For example, if you have a group of 17-year-old players that need to serve on a team on the other side, and you always have 1 or 2 players that, because they are not on the other side, they are less focused, so they do mistakes. So you can give them, whoever does the second mistake in a row needs to do, I don't know, 2 push-ups or a few push-ups or a roll or something, not really to feel pain or anger, but to feel something physical. So the mistake matters more. What do you think about that?
If you do like for fun, maybe it would be okay. But if you really want to send the right message, I would do like, okay, you don't pay attention, now you sit down for 1 minute. And then, in my opinion, you will come back really with more motivation, ready to show what he can do and what he wants to do. But I understand now. It was just giving an idea in general.
No, I
also to compare different culture, because in Japan, okay, this is extreme, but one of my player, Futami, one day we were doing setting and she was not a great setter. And one more time she made a mistake and she told me, sorry. Then in Japan, there are 2 ways to say sorry, gome and simasen. And one is more formal. I mean, it's a complicated story. Also between the 2 of them, one was using, you know, the hierarchy that I was telling before. One kind of sorry and the other, okay, anyway. She was telling me, sorry, Marco, sorry, son. Will be you, now you're angry with me. I said, no, I'm not angry. We're trying to, and then with a big tears from her eye, she told me for the first time, and it was many months that I was coaching her, but probably she needs so much time to open her heart. She told me that her first coach indoor he was really beating them up, like kicking them. One time, a couple of teammates, they were like going down the stairs. So, and this is 5 years ago, you know, so it's not that we're talking about 19th century. So can you imagine how bad it is for a player to have such a fear to make a mistakes because you receive a real punishment, so to push up, it's okay. But I want to be far from this idea, because this kind of penalty or punishment can really create fears in our player. And we don't want to create fears. We want to create brave players. This is, maybe next seminar, we talk about what a coach should try to bring, you know, sense of responsibility, critical thinking, be capable to take decision, all these things that we as beach volleyball coaches, especially because we are not on the court during the game, should be able to communicate to our players.
Amazing. We take that. We take that with us no matter what. And I think when we go back to training, we will try to continue getting out of our comfort zone and not giving penalties.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are now like 45 minutes. We went through the big questions. I think now if anybody wants to ask something.
Perfect. Come on, guys, don't be shy.
Hi, I have a question. You talk about, as a coach, the comfort zone. How, as a coach, you got out of the comfort zone? Can you give one or two examples?
Yeah, like I was mentioning before, when I was accepting some procedure that Carambola was doing in the practice, for example, a different kind of warm-up or mental attitude, like he was joking. For me, it's very important to have fun during the practice, but there must also a limit. And many times for me, it was over this limit. When we were training with the Latvian, there was lots of teasing between the two teams, especially between Carambola and Smoilovs. So for me, we were going over the limit, and I decided sometimes, okay, now I take it. I stay in the uncomfort zone because I didn't like what was going on, because I thought maybe this is good for the player. Maybe it's good for me to feel like a player feel when I put him somewhere when he doesn't want to be. But this is a really detail, I would say. There are, now we discuss about this because the question was also, what did you change in your coaching style? And okay, I can speak about technique, but I think it would be more boring that if I explain exactly the angle of the wrist. Maybe one time that I come to Israel, we have 2 days, we can work about this kind of boring thing. But today I was more giving, my idea was to give this like flash.
Yeah, it was a good example. I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
What do you do when sometimes player comes with low energy?
Okay, I want to make you an example with the kid group. I had this 7-8 kids a few years ago, and there was a clear leader in this group. Well, maybe he was 8 years old. Also in winter, he trained with no shirt, you know. Okay, we're indoor, but everybody has, you know, that T-shirt. He had like some neckler, very aggressive with a shark teeth, you know, the bully of the group. One day he arrives, I mean, the group, we have to start the practice. He tells me, Marco, today I don't want to train. He lie down on the sand. Immediately, he is the leader. All the group, they all lie down in the sand. So I had like, you know, 10 seconds, said, what should I do now? Say, come on, guys, stand up. We have to train. It's not. I said, guys, good idea. I also lie down with you. And I lie down next to them, and the leader said, "Hey, what he is doing? I have to do this. He cannot do this." So he stood up, and we start the practice. So there is lots of psychology. You cannot say there is one system. Of course, if they come every day with no motivation, no energy, change the player. Because if a player every day is with no motivation, then you have to know them. There is the kind of person that when he arrives and you see he or her or she a little bit empty, the best things to do is also you lower profile, you know. The other player then needs, okay, let's go, let's do this, let's do this drill, you know. In general, if a player is a little bit low energy, you have to give time. You don't have to be like, the worst things you can do, why you're like this today? What's happening? Come on, this is not good for the training. Yeah? This is the worst things you can do. One more time, teach by example. You try to stay there, to present your drills, to present your warm-up, to explain the practice, the goal of the practice. Now, it depends which level you are training. And now I made example with the kids. Now I'm talking about a top player. Normally, if you're calm, slowly the players come back. Of course, it depends also why he had no energy, you know, but we have to be a good psychologist from this point of view. This is something that I personally suffer a lot. I had one Italian girl, I'm talking about many, many years ago, that she was always coming to the practice with this face. And this face, I think it's in the long term, it's really hard to stand. So this is my discomfort zone, for example. When I have a player with this kind of mouth, it's tough for me. And the worst things you can do is, come on, why don't you smile? Look, we are lucky, we are doing. It's not like this. You have to find a way to recover in the training, but it's tough. This is sometimes, especially with that Italian team, they were dragging a lot of my energy. There was the team, then we got 3 European Championships though. So, you know, sometimes it's worth it.
It was worth it for sure.
But it was a good question, because it's in this kind of meeting, I like to answer a practical thing, you know, how many balls we need if we are 8, which one is the best temperature, which one is, you know, also things that you go back, and besides the big philosophy of Marco Solustri, you also go to a practice and you have some tools, some extra tools. This is my...
Another question is how do you help players improve decision making during the game?
How you help players to take decision during the game?
How do you help them improve the decision making, which I think we all agree maybe one of the most important things in each game.
Yeah, because at the moment I am in the board of a coach association, and we are getting closer, probably also at an international level, to have the coach in the bench and coach being able to talk during timeout and then on the set. At the moment, still we cannot, so it's very important during our preparation. This is a very good question, because I can connect what you asked me before, how much you change your coaching style. For sure, in the first few years as a coach, also because maybe I had to prove myself I was a good coach, I was talking a lot during practice, you know, every rally, every action, I was giving some advices to this player, to this other player. The more experience I got, and the more I realized that it was good. Don't interrupt too much the practice, but let the player analyze his own mistake in order to help the decision process and they take responsibility. So especially with Rossi Carambula, because especially Carambula doesn't like to interrupt too much, I started to take notes because I didn't want to forget all the topics I want to stress with the player, but I start to write And during the break, because every, let's say 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, we have a break. So during the break, I was discussing about this thing, and you know, lots of dialogue, like Socrates would say, you know, the knowledge comes from dialogue. So many times I was not coming with, you should have done this, but why you did this? Do you think this was the best solution? Which other solution you had in that situation to get out of the difficult situation better? So of course, then during the training, you don't have that much time. At the end of the practice, you can have longer discussion, not too long, in my opinion, because then you become boring. I've seen coaches that were making like 2 hour session, 2 hours meeting after every practice. That's way too long. And then you can watch video together and analyze together with the players and discuss. So these are all different ways to help the players to help them to take the right decision than when they have to play without a coach.
So to summarize it, you actually try to make the player use their heads after the ball. Sometimes you talk about it with them in the first break or after practice, but to create a dialogue with the player based around the decision he makes, and to give him feedback around it.
And one more time also about this topic, you have to see who you have in front. For example, there are, especially normally this with women they really like, if you talk with them a lot also during the practice, it depends from the level that you have. So the kind of person that you have in front of you, again, I make the example of Carambula because Carambula, he really clearly told me, Marco, I don't like that you interrupt too much. Let me do my thing. And then after the 5 minutes, you have the break and we discuss what's happening because I want to be in the flow. But he is a little bit a special player. He's the first player after 25 years career that tells me like this. Also other players, really good players like Doppler, Berger, Koloditsky, Parsuk, European champion, vice world champion, they were less. So you have to understand exactly you have in front and find the right key for each player. But definitely this helping about the decision process, take risk, when take risk, this is also something very difficult to improve because your confidence, you know, comes a lot from your education, when you're a teenager, what your parents did with you. So of course you can improve the confidence, improving the skills, the technique, but at the match point is something that it doesn't come exactly from the toss of the ball. It's something that comes also from your heart. And this is something that we always had, you know, winners, players, and losers. The winners are the one that at match point, they do their best serve. And the losers are the one that they serve the ball out like this and they say unlucky. No, it's not unlucky when you serve the ball out on the match point.
Okay, thank you. I think we have 1 or 2 more questions. Finish. This one. Do you like to be involved in the mental preparation or do you leave it to someone else? And is there something special you like to do in that matter of mental preparation before big games or competition?
That's a huge question. Let's go with an example. There was a period where I was coaching Doppler with another partner and they were not getting along good. So we had a psychologist, we were traveling with a psychologist, but the psychologist was like a general sport psychologist. And at the end, she was not really very helpful because I think the best thing is when you know something about psychology and you know something about how to deal with the human mind, and also you know about the sport, what the sport requires on a technical aspect, on a physical aspect, on an emotional aspect. So I do this part a lot by myself. I'm not saying that when you have specific problem, it's not good to go to a sport psychologist or a mental coach. Now, you know, it's very trendy to have the mental coach. And there are some good ones that for sure can help. But like a technical coach, you have to find a really good mental coach to really... I remember also myself as a player at the end of my career, I was really anxious before the game. So I started to go to this psychologist, but to be honest, I didn't find big help. And back in the days, I didn't have a coach myself because there were not beach volleyball coaches yet. So it was a kind of difficult situation. Let's say also quickly how to prepare a game. For me, the more, let's say the Olympics. The Olympics is always the moment where the players are the most stressed, the more anxious. I've seen really players totally freaking down during before the game or the night before. The best things I can do is to show that you relax, that you have fun, that you enjoy. Of course, you don't have to lie. I was lucky because I have to say, as a coach, I was never really anxious like I was as a player. So because these kind of things, you cannot really lie. So if you really feel relaxed and confident, and if you are enjoying the competition, and a few times I have to say that I was nervous myself because it happens a few times, the player immediately realized that. And that was not good for the players. So maybe it's the coach that need a mental coach to arrive to the game and show his player, okay, let's enjoy, let's have a good time here. And if you approach the big game, this is why in the Olympic normally the Olympic only particular player can win the Olympic. Like for example, the American, Fonomoyama Blanton, they won in 2000 Sydney. They never had made the semifinal before, but the American, they're cool. They arrive there, they play easy, they play relaxed. And there were so many teams completely, you know, tense, stiff. This is not a way. But the Olympics are completely different competition because the pressure, the media, it's a different sport. Play beach volleyball in the Olympic is play a different sport. You don't have, you know, a normal media coverage. You met the most important journalists of your country. They normally speak about Trump and then he comes to interview you. And then really the president of your state pass by and ask you a question. So you realize that you are in an environment that it's way different than a normal tournament.
It's exciting to hear about it. For sure, we all wish that in a few years we can experience it.
We will go to the Olympics.
Yes,
We did that.
This is the main goal. The last one, Gal, I'm sorry, I will take the risk question. The last one is, how is your relationship with the players outside the practice?
This is for me crucial. Many coaches think that to be professional means that you separate a lot your private life with the practice time and with the professional life. I totally disagree with this for different reasons. First of all, because I like to have a good feeling with the person around me. I spend so much more time with my players than with my friend, with my kid, with my girlfriend. At the moment, I don't have a girlfriend, but when I have a girlfriend, I never see her. So for me, it's important to have quality time out of the practice because you spend so much time with them. Second, I think if you get close to your player, you can ask them more. You can go, if you get the chance to know them in their private life, with their emotion, you understand them better. You realize better how to coach them. For me, it's better from all point of view to have a close relationship with the players that you coach. And I have to say that in my resume, he doesn't say this because it's not the things that you put in the resume, but for me, it's so important the way you finish the relationship with the player that you've been coaching. And mostly, I would say almost all of them, of the player that I coach, we stay in great relationship. And this is for me awesome because in my opinion, it's very easy give your best in any kind of relationship when you start with your girlfriend, with your friend, with your player, with the boss in your work. You know, your enthusiasm at the beginning, you have to cooperate, maybe you fake also a little bit, but the real level of a person you see when you quit something. When you finish a relationship, then you see who you are and how you get out of this relationship. It can be different kind of relationship again. But I'm really proud that, let's say, with Doppler, with Barsuk, with all the Russian girls, with the Japanese girls, as soon as we go to a new tournament and I meet my former players, 99% it's a blast of joy. And this is for me, exactly, it's something that should be part of my CV because it's something that you bring with you day by day in your daily life.
Amazing. Perfect. I think we got many positive things from this conversation with you. Maybe it only sparked the fire to talk to you more. So,
yeah, too bad that I saw only a few of you because I see now 45 people and I didn't get the chance to see your faces because it would be nice to memorize your face in case I meet you somewhere or World Tour or wherever.
So again, thank you in behalf of the best session we had this month. You hear? This is from Shaike Treiban, one of the best beach and indoor volleyball players in history of Israel. It's a nice compliment from him.
I hope to see you maybe November, December. We can organize something. Let's see how the situation will be.
Perfect. Thank you, and thank you for everybody that joined us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Coach.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
ביי ביי.
לילה טוב לכולם.
Your faces.
Grazie mille.
לילה טוב.
Thank you, Coach. Great advice.